Some women learn about breast cancer from a brochure, but some learn it by canceling their own plans for a big wedding and rescheduling it just so their mom with stage 4 breast cancer could be there. Today, we welcome attorney and board member Elise Neal, whose advocacy for women at the Rose and at MD Anderson's Advanced Breast Cancer Program began with losing her mother to de novo metastatic breast cancer at the age of 58. Her mother had had yearly mammograms, had done all the things right, and still she was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. Elise shares how she had to make the hospital give her a mammogram at age 33 and why she's so focused on metastatic research and clinical trials. She also shares that serving on our board lets her fight for uninsured women who really can't always advocate for themselves. If Elise's story makes you think of a woman who's determined to make a difference, please share this episode and consider making a donation so another woman will receive the care she needs at therose.org. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Elise, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, well, since you've been on the board, I tell you, you make things happen. How many committees now have you already served on? And you've only been with us, 2 years?
Yeah, not even 2 years. It's been about a year and a half. I think September 2024.
Yeah. But you've served on development. But I think you're on every single committee we have.
Governance, yes. And Fund Development Program Committee. And I'm toying with joining the, but it might be too much, the
building one?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's one that we're going to need in these coming months. How did you get recruited to this Rose board?
A good friend of mine, Maria Boyce, is on the board, and she knew I was very involved with the Advanced Breast Cancer Program at MD Anderson, and that it was a cause that was really important to me. And so she invited me to the State of the Rose. I think it was a little before I joined the board, and it was just, I thought I knew what the mission of the Rose was, and then I realized I knew just a teeny bit of the mission, and I just thought, wow, this is a great organization, and the work that I was doing for breast cancer at MD Anderson, this is such a different, still under the umbrella of, being a breast cancer advocate, but just a different way to help people, and both so important. So I was just excited and honored when she asked me.
Didn't we have you come over and talk to us about the high-risk clinic and things like that?
Yes,
I remember Maria had brought you.
I think I came because I was talking about how navigators were such an important and kind of newish aspect of how to help with not just breast cancer patients, but any patients, but talking about that and seeing if there was a way to help have the two causes, use what we've learned in one to help with the other. So, yeah, you're right. I did come.
And I know that as we were trying to set up our genetic testing and all of those programs, we always look to MD Anderson and to what they have because, of course, they have those resources.
Yeah, and it's such a great thing, and it just shows how, the journey when somebody gets diagnosed with breast cancer, how some things have just changed dramatically. And that is one of the things that I think typically now they really want somebody to get that genetic testing once they get diagnosed. It helps their family if, God forbid, they have one of the mutations, and it could help with their treatment because it's becoming more and more personalized.
So of all the areas of breast cancer, why was metastatic so important to you?
Yeah, it really like for most people, when it hits close to home, then it becomes your passion cause. My mom passed away at what I think is a fairly young age from metastatic breast cancer. She was 58. I was 33 and had 2 babies at home. And then if you step back before then, she was diagnosed when I was engaged. And we ended up having to cancel my wedding and get married on 2 weeks' notice just to ensure that she could be there. So it's been a passion for me. And then...
Now, how old were you when she was diagnosed?
I was 26, almost 27.
Oh, my goodness.
When she was diagnosed, and she was 52. And she was one of the small percentage because when she got diagnosed with breast cancer, she was diagnosed de novo metastatic, which means she wasn't early stage. She was diagnosed and it had already progressed to some organs, so she was deemed metastatic or stage 4. And it was heartbreaking because she would get her mammogram every year. And so sometimes people try to ascribe fault or blame or make themselves feel better and think, oh, well, she didn't get, her screening and that's why. And sometimes it's just an aggressive type of cancer. And so that was a tough journey.
How did she tell you?
Oh, my gosh. It was a crazy story. I was an attorney, and I was working on a big case as a baby attorney in Galveston. And my fiance at the time said, oh, I'm going to come down and see you tonight. And I'm like, no, I have so much work to do. I can't see you. Please don't come. We kind of had a little bit of a tiff because I'm like, why? Please don't come. And he was very forceful, which was kind of funny. Like, why do you want to come? And he came down and then he said, oh, he clearly had worked behind the scenes. And then my mom called. I'm going to cry. And she wanted him to be there when she called me with the news that she had breast cancer. And so it all made sense why he was so pushy about coming down, because she was up in New York and wanted me not to get that devastating news alone. And when she first called, it was before her surgery, and we didn't know that it was stage 4. I just knew she had breast cancer.
Was it found on a mammogram, or had she felt it?
She felt it. So
and you didn't know any of that?
She felt it and then made appointments, went to the doctor, got tested, had another mammogram, had a biopsy. And so all that had gone on without me knowing. And so she waited until she was diagnosed.
Wow. Do you have siblings?
I have a brother. Unfortunately, we were all spread out. My mom was in New York. I was here in Houston. My brother was in California. And so I kind of think like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. But I went and talked to the partners and said, it was this huge case. I'm like, I have to go be with my mom for her surgery. And they were lovely and let me go. And so I was there for that. And then, when they do the mastectomy, they, at that time, would take out the lymph nodes and test those to see. And so I had left New York and come back to Houston before she got the results to find out that it was metastatic. So that was another tough phone call to hear.
Oh, yes.
And even though that was 1993, which in some ways was a long time ago, some ways wasn't, but the internet wasn't then what it was now.
I was wondering, how did you research,
and that was the thing. I didn't know.
Right.
Like, I knew this doesn't sound good, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I didn't know what a tough diagnosis that was.
Well, now she had some years.
Yes, she had this very aggressive. They didn't have as many treatments.
Oh, that's so true.
And so she had this very aggressive autologous bone marrow transplant.
I remember those.
So harsh, but it did let her live for 6 years. And, Now there are more options and more treatments, but there's still not enough, like more.
But now speak to that a little bit, Elise, because I know you've been on many scientific committees. You've really gone deep into this. What is different now between the time of your mother and now if you were diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer?
I think there's more hope now. It's something like about 30% of metastatic patients live for 5 years.
Which was not the case
No,
before.
I mean, still numbers are not good and they need to be better, but they're better than it was for sure. Right. And now just with, like you mentioned before, the genetic testing, they're able to, like, I don't even know what type of breast cancer my mom had, and now everybody knows like you type, have triple negative or you have ER positive, and they didn't. But
you know, we didn't even know how to categorize them in '93. I mean, it was a very different time, and really she was just before so many things came into play. Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely, yeah. And so now they're able to say you have this type, it's resistant to this treatment, let's do this treatment. And clinical trials are such a huge thing now and just really help give more options to patients.
So speak to that just a little bit because, you know, this is an area people still have a lot of hesitancy about entering into.
I'm glad you said that because I think there's a lot of misinformation. Because I was recently telling a friend who had a friend, and I mentioned a clinical trial, and she's like, oh, she doesn't want to be in the placebo group and not get any treatment. And I was like, yeah, they don't really do that anymore. So the way it is you could just continue to get standard of care. And it depends what trial. Some are blind, some are not blind. Phase 1 versus a phase 3 trial. And so you're still getting treatment, but they're trying new things that could help not only you, but future women. And you really get such great care, too, when you're in a clinical trial because they are watching everything.
Everything.
Yes,
I know. That is such a good point, Elise. People don't realize that. You really have so much more surveillance, so much more...
watching your symptoms, your side effects to make sure nothing's too bad and tweaking. And like if they see you get really nauseous, then maybe before your next treatment, they could give you anti-nausea medicine ahead of time. Like that's just a simple example. But I have, from my time with the advanced breast cancer program at MD Anderson, some really good friends who are metastatic and one who's had really good luck with trials, because another big difference with metastatic versus early stages, if you're metastatic, you're pretty much on treatment the rest of your life. And there's a few lucky ones who, you know, show no evidence of disease and maybe could stop treatment, but most are in treatment. And so you want to stay on your treatment as long as you can, because once you start to show progression, then they have to find you another treatment or trial, and there's just a limited universe of treatments.
So true.
So you want to stay as long as you can.
Now, was your mother in treatment her whole time, or was it?
Yes. So she had that really horrible transplant treatment.
Which it wipes out the immune system, and then everything you have to be worried about.
Yeah. And then, but the problem is, like, then when it came back, it kind of came back with a vengeance.
Yeah. And again, that was then.
Yes.
We really want to stress that. It's so different now.
No, and it's so true that you know, even if you have early stage and you get treatment and you're in remission, it's still really important to keep going back for your either 3 months, 6 months, 1 year scans. So if something comes back, they catch it right away.
Right.
Yeah, so it's important to be diligent, you know, before you ever have breast cancer. And then after you do, you can't just think, oh, everything's fine, I'm done. You really need to keep monitoring.
So you're thousands of miles from your mom while she's going through all of her treatment. How did you support her?
so hard, just trying to talk every day. I mean, it was different. Like, you didn't have text.
Right.
Email really wasn't a
there
thing.
yet.
And
No.
so trying to visit as much as I could. And the one thing she always wanted to be was a grandma. And so once I had my kids, letting her spend time with them was just the best gift to her. And she just, there's kind of this funny, sad story that when it was at the end and my dad and my aunt called and said, you need to come up, I flew up, and I actually flew up with my grandmother because my mother's mother was alive. And we flew up together, and my aunt said to my mom, oh, your favorite girl is here. And instead of saying Elise, she said my daughter's name, Samantha. And of course, she wasn't there. She was 2 years old.
Right.
But it just showed me, like, even though she didn't have a ton of time with her, how impactful it was.
Have you made an effort to keep her memory with your kids alive?
Absolutely. Stories and talking all the time. And so I feel like they know her, but they didn't really know her. But just from me talking about her and pictures, they have all these, memories, and she's such an important part of their life. And it's interesting that you say that because my daughter is now a doctor, and I feel like maybe that impacted her because I always talked about losing my mom.
Yeah. So think about how, gosh, it was a long time ago in the way medicine moves, and yet not at all.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you worry about for you or for your daughter?
Well, as soon as when my mom passed away, I was 33, and she was up at Sloan Kettering in New York, which is another great cancer institute. And I remember asking her doctor, what should I do? Because back then, they didn't even suggest mammograms until you were 50. And she said, go to MD Anderson and make them give you a mammogram. And I remember thinking, that's such an odd way to put it. But that's exactly what happened. And I think maybe that's what did me on my road to being an advocate, because I really had to advocate for myself. I went to their cancer prevention center and asked for a mammogram, and they're like, you're 33. And I'm like, and I just kept having to say why and why and why. And so I've been getting mammograms since I was 33.
So you did it by yourself? I mean, you didn't have a doctor in between saying she needs this?
Nope. I just went there and really pushed, and thankfully they did. And it's so interesting because now the age is 40 when they start. And as you know, it's really sad how many younger women are getting diagnosed. And so I think now somebody wouldn't, thankfully, have those same issues if they wanted to get early.
I don't know. We still hear it.
Yeah.
We still hear that thing of you're too young for a mammogram.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
But they're not too young for breast cancer. I mean,
right.
drives me nuts.
No, yeah. It's just so, I think just the lack of knowledge or just, thinking this is how we did it and not changing with the times. But it is horrible because I know with the Rose that we've had some really young
Last year we had 40 women under the age of 40 who were diagnosed, and 36 of them were uninsured. Now, imagine, that's just, some of them were younger than you when you lost your mother.
And it's so hard because the more things get better, the harder they get. Like, I remember how many years ago it was, all they talked about was doing a self-exam, how important that was. And now they're really pulling away from that because there were so many false positives or unnecessary tests. And so it's just really hard for a woman to know what to do.
That even goes all over me, that, so many false positives or false. So what?
Exactly.
I mean,
better
so
safe than
what?
sorry.
Yeah. Oh, one of the things I heard during the time when the USPSTF was debating what age to start was they're just worrying their little heads. They're just getting themselves all in a tizzy over nothing. And so someone challenged that committee that year and said, where are you getting this information? Have you done surveys? Have you really gone into the facts about how women feel? Sure, it's concerning. But I think when it comes to your body,
And I think it kind of just shows that we know our bodies and we're our best advocates. And it makes me think of my mom, even though she had recently had a mammogram and everything was okay, she felt something and
went right
had to
after
go get
it.
tested. And it's so important for women, if you don't get the answer you need, to keep pushing until you can get.
Oh, that's good advice. It is. Because
No, and that's why the Rose is such a great place, that it's unfortunate that young women get diagnosed, but thank goodness they're getting diagnosed if, they unfortunately have breast cancer, and not making them fight to get it.
Right. When do you miss your mom the most?
Oh, gosh. So many times, just being able to say, hi, Mom, and nobody, dads are wonderful, but nobody loves you like your mom does. And so just that was always hard, and hearing sometimes, just like people complaining about their mom, and I'm thinking, oh, you don't know how lucky you are. And then probably one of the biggest times it was a full circle moment, because I mentioned that my wedding got canceled and we got married on short notice, and it was a small wedding. My daughter got married last March, and I so wished that my mom could have been there. And I had a scary moment because I went in the January before just for my annual mammogram. And I'm like, oh my God, life can't, history can't repeat itself. This can't happen to me. I can't do that to my daughter. And thankfully everything was fine. But I just, even though I've been married for more than 32 years, I still remember how hard that was.
Oh, yeah. Those are the memories we don't forget at all.
Yep.
So let's put on your scientific hat for a moment. I know you were just on a steering committee that just ended, fall, winter? Yeah,
for the Advanced Breast Cancer Program at MD Anderson, was on the steering committee, and it's there's some new leadership there, and so we're kind of reinventing. It's more
but
of
what was its mission? What were you doing?
The mission was, and I'm so glad you asked this, to give the metastatic breast cancer patients what they needed, because they really felt like, here's a good example. There used to be way back, I guess it was pre-2016, they had a support group for breast cancer patients, and it was all different types of breast cancer patients. It was early stage, it was people stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the women who were metastatic stage 4 said, this doesn't work for us, because truthfully, we have more in common with a metastatic prostate cancer patient than an early stage breast cancer patient. And so this isn't supporting us the way that we need. And so that kind of was the start of, and we need other things too. And so really, at the time, it was one of the first in the country to really say, how can we best support this group of women and men, because it could impact men as well, with what their needs are, because the needs of a metastatic breast cancer patient are very different than an early stage. And you don't want an early stage patient getting scared hearing what a metastatic woman is saying, and what the concern of an early stage, which is very valid too, isn't have the same meaning to a metastatic patient. So it was trying to get their needs met. And one of the things we did was helped raise a lot of money with MD Anderson does this annual boot walk for all different types of cancer. And so the ABC clinic, we put together this Stomp Out Stage 4 breast cancer team. And they just had their 10th boot walk, and our team has raised over $2 million.
You're kidding. Wow.
It is amazing because, these women are so committed and their friends and their family to support them. And we're giving the money to research. And so it really has been good because instead of just saying, oh, here's $100,000, go research, really having a say. And we think this, present to us some types of research that you were doing for metastatic patients, and then having a committee listen and evaluate and saying, okay, we want our money to go towards this program. And then instead of just having your money go in a vacuum, having them come back and present and saying, this is what our findings are so far, and whether it's going to progress and maybe they need more money. Or, sometimes research is valuable even if it's not successful because it shows you what direction not to go in. So, it's been really interesting. I can't say I understand everything because, it's that scientific researcher. it is very high level.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating, and I think it's hopeful too because, and I think it's good for the patient advocates to hear what's happening. But I think there's also value in these researchers seeing and hearing from the metastatic patients, seeing who you're impacting, seeing how this really affects their lives. And so I think it's been a good back and forth, and that's been very helpful just because more money needs to be devoted to metastatic breast cancer research because you don't die from early stage breast cancer, you die from metastatic breast cancer. And so I think there's been there need to have more research at every level of breast cancer, no doubt, but it would be great to have more options.
So go back to the support for that metastatic patient. Have you sat in the groups that have gathered for? Have you heard their stories? Or
I have not. It is you have to be a patient, and then there's a healthcare provider who leads the support group, so not allowed to listen. But so many of my friends from that group, there's a few like me who were caregivers, but most are metastatic patients, and
so you've
the most
seen
inspiring, amazing people because you get this horrible diagnosis, and if you want to be sad and angry, that's understandable. If you just want to spend time with your family and friends, that's understandable. But these women, and like I said, men can get it too, but there aren't men who are part of our group at the moment who are patients. They are fighting not just for themselves because they know research takes a long time and what is happening now probably might be too late for them, but they're doing it for the future, like women coming behind them. It's just so inspiring. It's hard. It's emotional. I hate that we lose people in our group every year, different ages, different, journeys that they've had. But just this tenacious group that isn't going to take no for an answer and just wants things to be better.
Oh, it's so encouraging.
Yes, so encouraging.
Yeah. I know I must have read 7 different volunteer functions or positions that you've had, if not more. And I thought, what is it that keeps you raising your hand as a volunteer? Because even your work on our board is a volunteer effort.
Yeah, I'm an attorney and stopped working a little ways back because I really never wanted to regret not spending more time with my kids. And again, that's always my mom in the back of my, hearing her in my ear that you just never know, and didn't want to ever regret that we didn't spend as much time as we could together. And so I just felt like I needed to give back and volunteer because when I was working and having little kids, I didn't have the time to do that. And I feel like I'm just privileged that I'm able to help different groups that I've found important. So when my kids were at school supporting their schools, my son played Little League, so then I was president of Bel Air Little League.
I wondered how you got into that. Oh, my goodness.
I have lots of stories about that. And then I had gone to Rice for undergrad, and then my son went there, and then really helping to build up a parents program. My daughter was at Baylor for med school, and then helping to start a family program there, and I'm on the partnership council, and it's hard because there are so many worthwhile groups and nonprofits, and so you know, in a perfect world, you'd help in so many ways, but I've learned that it's better to just have a select few that you really care about and be able to keep raising your hand and saying, I could help with this and I could help with that.
Yeah, well, you've certainly been a lot of help to us.
Oh, you're so sweet.
And not just on the board. You know, you've been helping us with contracts and other things that are, you know, you just have to have that kind of legal counsel every now and then, or someone that can point you in the right direction. Yeah.
I mean, I think just nonprofits, it's a hard time for...
Very hard time.
You know, just with, you know, maybe donations being down with the economy, or just people worried about health care and, you know, different things going on. And so, again, it's just even the harder things get, the more important it is to keep saying, how can I help?
And, you know, the thing that we're seeing, and a lot of nonprofits are seeing, is that level of the intensity of the patient. Different, very different right now. It is just so labor intensive, takes so much time to really get some of our patients into the help they need. And oh my gosh, it's
I think
different.
that was, you know, before I alluded to, I thought I knew about the Rose's mission, and in my head I thought, oh, they give mammograms to uninsured, and it's so much more than that. And I think people don't realize that for our uninsured patients, you know, getting diagnosed, for anybody that starts the new fight and it's hard, but for uninsured patients, like what the Rose does now with its navigation program, trying to help them get into the treatment.
Right.
And it has to be done fairly quickly because people, even though maybe you don't need to immediately start treatment, that is a horrible feeling to think you were diagnosed with cancer and then just sitting and
you don't
waiting.
have a plan. Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so just somebody there helping and advocating for you when the way the system is, you can't really advocate for yourself.
Well, and true. And, you know, there's so much that we don't understand about health anyway. And so many of our patients, we really have to go through a long education process. They're not used to going to the doctor and
it's
hearing
a whole
these
new
things.
vocabulary. Even if you're, you know, educated and you feel like you really know a lot about your health, it's a whole new ball game.
It's like a foreign language.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, one final message to our audience. What would it be from you?
I think it's just to be your best advocate and get screened. And if you feel like something's wrong, make somebody listen and get to the bottom of it. Yeah, because I think, you know, we know our bodies and we know when, you know, you don't always know when something's wrong, but if you feel like something's wrong and people aren't taking you seriously or giving you the testing that you think you need, keep advocating for yourself. Because if you're, you know, like your mom might advocate for you, but nobody's going to advocate for you like you do for yourself.
Or that's it. That is so, so important for women to hear, especially.
Yes, absolutely.
Young and old.
Yeah, and I think it could, like you said, but what we said before, it's happening in younger and younger women, and so don't put off, you know.
What you know you need to do.
And especially as women and as moms, we like to take care of other people, and we put ourselves last. And it's kind of like in the airplane that, you know, the parent, you should put on your mask before helping others. Yes. You're not going to be able to help your family if you're not taking care of yourself.
Great advice. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was a great story.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.